chat room and on People for People Radio, to have like-minded people getting together and sharing our wisdom and our hopes and our prayers and just the wonderful chat that goes on in the chat room. So any of you all listening in from afar, if you want to join into the chat room, you can go ahead and do that, and you could ask questions to Vanessa's going to be fielding the questions today. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, so I'm here in California. It's midday, about 1 o'clock, and it's really hot and smoky here. We got a fire. Last year the fire started in May, and they were it was a war last summer. They used laser weapons to start and continue fires and guide them further into the mountains and stuff. You could see it. There were white hot spots all over the mountainside where bushes and small trees just incinerated to white ash almost immediately, which does not happen in a normal forest fire. I'm not sure what's happening with this one, but apparently it started up in Oregon from a campfire, got loose. So hopefully they'll put it out, but it's already really big and it's pretty smoky here. So I'm getting questions from my patients and friends emailing me about herbs to use for smoke inhalation. And so one of the best things you can use is mullein tea, which I just made a pot of for myself because I was, I've been out in the garden watering and stuff, and it's pretty dang smoky. There's the Marble Mountain Wilderness area is probably about 10 miles away from here. Normally you could see it really clear, and you can't see it at all today. So I made myself a pot of mullein tea, and also just I'm taking a detox kit because a lot of times with these fires, houses go up and mobile trailers and mobile homes, people who live out in the bush have, kind of hard to get to protect from the fire for the fire departments and stuff. But, so every once in a while you'll smell a big plume of chemical smells when there's these kind of fires. So, doing this, I do this detox kit called Body Anew. It's a homeopathic detox kit. And whenever I feel like I get exposed to chemicals, that's what I take. And you can look it up online. I'll just type it in here to the chat room. It's just Body Anew. I bet you could just Google it. So that's what I do also with the guy next door who's been painting. He stopped all week. He did it for about maybe even 10 minutes yesterday, but he stopped pretty quickly. So I'm hoping I don't have to go any further up. I don't want him to have to get a fine or anything, but at the same time, I don't want to have to deal with his stupidity and have to breathe in. He's been painting cars next door. So it's pretty interesting because it's like, a macrocosm. I feel like whenever anything happens, the Ho'onopono, the philosophy from Hawaii, is that whatever happens to you, whatever comes into your field of awareness, it's there for a reason. And so there's something for you to deal with this. So I, try to, when I can compose myself and not come from anger, when that guy's painting his car, like yesterday, I opened the window that's closest to his garage where his front yard is. And, I was just sending prayers to him and sending like this loving energy so that his mind can wake up and he can start to understand or to think about the effects of what he's doing on his child. He's got a little 4-year-old that was running around in the, yard and here he is painting with this toxic stuff. And I was just really meditating really hard, talking to his ancestors, to his, if he has guides or any, unseen beings or, unseen forces, his grandparents, wherever they are, to pray for him, to open his mind and to start to, realize the consequences of his actions. And of course, this goes out also to just into the world, right? Where there's so many people doing things with toxins and, just even things that they're eating and drinking that's poisoning themselves and the planet. And so at the same time, I was praying for this kid because he was out there playing with this little boy and stuff. And he is a good dad. And so I really wanted to just really support and send love to him for that, because I can see I know for a fact that he came from his father was very abusive and he's kind of a psychopath. I've met him before and he was really kind of creepy. So I can see that this guy is somehow, there's something in him that's changing, that's wanting to embody something different with his child. Because I've heard, just because they live right next door to me, sometimes one time it seemed like he accidentally did something to the kid and he was really apologetic. He said, I'm really sorry. I'm so sorry. Are you okay? And so that really, showed me that he is evolving. And so I want to put out that energy of love and understanding or overstanding or understanding for him to be able to really get, open his mind, his brain, his consciousness so that he can see what's the best thing here. And also for me too, because I don't want to have to breathe in that stuff anymore. And I don't want him to have to get a fine, so I really don't want to keep going to higher places in the sheriff or the county, to see. They told me to go to air quality control, and I really don't want to start doing that. But at the same time, I'm really clear that that has to stop. So it's interesting working on the microcosm, like here in my little neighborhood, and thinking about the macrocosm and all the crap that's going down in the world. It's just it's very sad, with the whole princess thing. I was reading, Mace sent a link earlier this morning to the 60 Minutes from Australia about that. And it's really sad. But, just praying for her that all women are safe and that, wherever they are, we can stand up and help each other out. And that real, human beings, real people, real men and women who care for the earth and care for each other, that we can really stand up really strong right now to help each other out through this time, because it's a big deal what's going on, and I just feel like I'm really glad to have found People for People radio. Sometimes I just feel real isolated, so it's been nice to be able to have a forum to share some of the knowledge that I have. I've spent my whole life seeking out wisdom from my grandparents, my grandma, both of my grandmas, very benevolent, very wise and loving grandmothers. So I really feel their prayers and their good intentions for me, and I just want to share that with you guys, because I feel like I haven't had the easiest of life, just like many of you. But those prayers from my grandmothers, I feel like have carried me through my whole life. I'm almost 60 here. And so I really want to share that with you guys. So today, we're going to talk about fire and water. And we're going to do some Chinese stuff with the Chinese calendar today. So I'll just move into that. And what else am I doing? Troubleshooting ferments, because remember we did that ferment talk a couple weeks ago? Well, the cabbage got too soggy. So I don't like to eat it because it's too soggy. I like crispy sauerkraut. So what I'm going to do today is to talk to you guys about what to do when your ferment goes bad, or it's not bad, but if it turns out like you don't want it to turn out, then, what to do about it. So I just turned it into something else, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. What else are we doing here? Oh yeah, we're going to talk about, so we'll talk about teas and things, some different stuff this time. I put a couple things in the study, but I don't think that Gauze got to it. He was partying down over there. What else are we going to talk about today? Okay. Oh, I got some homework for you guys too. Okay. So, let me get to this page. Oh shoot, where's my glasses? Okay, so today in the Chinese calendar, we talked about the nodes, and basically the calendar is keeping track of the where the sun is exactly in the sky, and so we already passed the very mid part of the hottest part of the year, and we're starting to go towards yin again. So you'll probably notice the nights are just a tiny bit cooler these days. I kind of have to change the information that I get because of the chemtrails and the way that they're manipulating the summer or the weather. So normally this time of year, and I've talked about this before, but in Chinese, the understanding also is that this is the time of the greatest heat. So you notice that the days in the daytime is the hottest, and the nights are starting to get a little bit cooler. And normally there should be some dampness. Like we normally get these storms, these thunderheads that come through. I want to say normally like 20 years ago normally. So most people who were born, in the last 20 years or even 25 years don't really know what normal is because of the changes that they've been doing with the weather manipulation. But so those clouds, sometimes we do get those thunder clouds and everybody comes out of the house and like, oh, I hope we get some rain, but we haven't. It's been about 2 months with no rain. It's really hot and dry. So, just putting out prayers that things stay safe here. And, so what I'm doing is we have to water almost every day right now because it gets so dang hot. And, there's some, let's see. Yeah, it was over 100 degrees for about 3 days so far, about like 103 or something like that. So, in Chinese medicine and in Native American understanding, there's a relationship between fire and water, of course, earth and air. Those are the 4 elements. And so when there's a ceremonies going on, like right now, I usually go to this elders gathering in Vermont, and I didn't go this year, but my husband went. And they have elders come from all over the world and speak to people, and they have a ceremonial fire. And the men in that culture tend the fire. There's a woman's fire too, which the grandmothers tend. But there's a reason why in that culture, at least that one tribe, the men are in charge of doing the fire because they feel like in the past, whatever centuries, fire has been used as a weapon. And this was understanding. I don't even know if these people even believe in chemtrails or weather manipulation, if they even know about it. But this is what they say about the nature of what's going on, is that fire has been used as a weapon. And men have gotten roped into being the wielders of that weapon, which has been fire, through firearms and now, through using fires as a weapon as they're doing here on the West Coast. And so I just want to put prayers out too, that we bring that back to balance. The natural elements of fire and water come back into balance. So the men get special teachings on how to care for the fire, like how to build a fire from wet wood, or how to keep a fire going when it's pouring down rain, and how to build fires depending on how hot it is outside. So you want to keep people the right amount of heat from the fire that you're tending. So it's a way to relearn. caring for fire in a really loving and benevolent way, so that you're thinking about the benefits that it's going to bring the community and the people who are there at the fire and people that are not there, the prayers you're putting out. So the men get really special teachings, and a lot of times those teachings come from elder women who are very strong in their practice in their tribes. They give these teachings to the men, and so then they get passed along. So it's a way to bring men back to living in a way that's not like volatile. So, because as we know that in our cultures, men kind of have been, or I don't know how to say this, but the way we've been trained as a culture is that men have the leeway or the freedom to just be volatile and violent, and they're even encouraged all this violence through wars and the military and stuff. And then the women just kind of have to sit back and deal with it, like what's going on in the Middle East with those princesses leaving. I cannot imagine what they are going through over there. It just sounds really horrible. So these ceremonies are also a way to send prayers out. So it's just like going to church, but out in nature. And so we're sending prayers out to any parts of the world that need healing, that need that balance to come back into being, the balance of fire and water and earth and air. So I just want us to maybe just take a moment here and think about that, how we can all just send our thoughts to link up with the thoughts of other people in this world right now who are praying for that balance to happen. The Mayan calendar thing, people go, oh, that was 10 years ago or whatever. Well, in the grand scheme of things, 2012 and 2019 are not really that far apart. So the transformation and change that the Mayan calendar and many other indigenous calendars around the world are talking about we're actually right in the midst of it. So that, Hollywood wanted to make it be this big, dramatic, horrible Armageddon thing, which, in some parts of the world, it is like that. But we're not. And so it's our responsibility to be joyful, to find the joy moments. And when we do, remember the peace that we live in and the abundance that we have, that we really give thanks for that, and to, in our hearts, in our minds, and in our with all of our being, just send out this good fortune to those people who are stuck or trapped in places that are really violent. So, and I know that's what they're doing at that elders gathering in Vermont. There's one in Utah right now too, I heard about. And there's ceremonies here with the Indians here on the Klamath River. They have what's called a brush dance. And in those dances, they are also praying for the world. Like, they dance all day and all night. They take turns to different tribes, and they come out in their regalia. It's really beautiful. And they have these really beautiful songs that are kind of mesmerizing. And the intention is that when they dance, they have their bare feet, and with the love in their hearts, and the songs are inherently like really beautiful. They just bring these sacred sounds together with these rhythms, and their regalia, they use a lot of shells. You might be able to go online and see pictures of Klamath River Indians. There's the Yurok and the Karuk. And so they dance in this rhythmic way, and these young girls, it's really beautiful. They have these they all make their own regalia. They have these skirts and blouses with these strings of different kinds of shells on them, and they make a certain rhythm when they start to dance and sing. And so the belief is that the vibrations from those shells are bringing the vibrations to the water. They bring it to the ocean, which is like the mother, and into the earth, and bringing the prayers to bring the world back into balance. So I just wanted to share that with you because I know, we tend to focus on what's wrong out in the world, and there's a lot to focus on in that's for sure. But it's also so important to get together and create joyous moments. I'm really glad that the people today who got together in Glasgow, I think I got reprimanded on how I pronounced Glasgow a little bit ago. I need some more English speaking and Scottish speaking tutorials. So anyhow, so we can just all vibrate into the fact that there's these ceremonies going on. These people are actively remembering their roots and remembering how their ancestors used to pray in the face of almost full not Armageddon, but what was that, genocide, for these people, how they can come back and be so strong together and remembering, because they got taken their dances and their medicine away for a long time, and they would just keep the memories alive at the fireside in whispers. They would tell stories in whispers, and for many, many years, probably decades, where they passed along certain teachings really low as, when they were telling stories, they had teaching stories that were apparently about frogs and all different other kinds of animals that, but they were very deep teachings, and those teachings are starting to come back out now. And, so it's a good time to be alive, and it's kind of sad for some of us who have lost, or we don't have connections with those really deep roots. But that's what we're doing here, is to helping each other to, hold out our hands so we can help it get through this time. And so I like it when people can remember things that their grandparents talked about, or any old stories are great. I really feel like a lot of wisdom is hidden away, and even in old stories, like what we call fairy tales. Of course, the ones that, they rewrote, the Anunnaki or whoever those jerks are, rewrote stuff and to hypnotize people and to change, our consciousness. But we are so intelligent. We really do have our inside of us. There was a conversation going on earlier in the chat room about being made I forget I'm not a Bible person, so I don't remember this stuff, but in the image of God, that's what it was. So basically we are creators. If we say God, our Father, well, if my dad is Mexican, that means I'm Mexican. And if my dad is God or Father, there's a Father God, that means I'm God too, because I'm the daughter of this God. And so much of the Native American teachings that I've received is just this beautiful reminding us of our divinity and of our deep connection with the earth and with the beauty that's all around us. And so really important, if you live in the city, to get to where there's greenery, at least go to the parks. When I lived in the city, I had a yard that was about as big as my dining room table right now. And I borrowed people. I had people would give me seeds, and I just plant that thing chock full of flowers. People would come by and take pictures of it. But I was in this tiny little apartment, and in front of it was just flowers coming all over the place. So even if you have like a little tiny patch of land, or a windowsill even, or a porch, you can be growing things that are going to help you to be connected with that life force. Because otherwise it's like, there's so much sadness out there. I mean, I was watching that video about those princesses, and I was like, oh my God, I just wanted to cry. And I look around, and people are so sad and feeling isolated. And there's steps that we can do. And one of them is planting seeds. You could still plant stuff for a fall crop. You could plant things like kale and collard greens and cabbages even will still grow into the fall. So you can think now about what's coming up into the fall. And that just the act of planting seeds is an act of having faith in our future. It's an act of creation, and acknowledging ourselves as creators, co-creators with each other and with all the unseen beings, if you believe in that kind of stuff. I know a lot of children believe in fairies and angels and stuff, and, who knows? I don't know if that stuff is true, but I kind of like to think it is. We have little helper beings. And, and I know for a fact that entities exist in different realms. So, so why not be good ones? We can be talking to the good ones. So I was talking to my neighbor's ancestors last night and asking him, please come and help open his mind, help open his eyes to how he wants to not be poisoning his son and his wife, because he has been painting cars in his garage and he's poisoning me too. But, I'm just trying to work on all levels. And so that's like, the macrocosm and the microcosm. So working in the physical realm, like doing the stuff, like I went and just filed a report about him. And, the problem with these big religions, and I don't want to point fingers or anything, but like even Buddhism, they've got these big, huge compounds where people sit and pray and pray and pray. And you look at them and there's no greenery in them. There's not one plant or one weed or one tree. Like, what's up with that? I don't know. Nature is my church, and that's how I feel about it. And somebody was saying that on the chat room earlier about just praying is not enough, and that's totally true. We can't just sit around and pray, pray, pray. We have to do work. We have to start growing our own foods, And so, my biggest thing is like, people really, because if we really want to change the world and really take care of ourselves, then what's the most important thing for us really is eating. It's food. We don't need money if we can grow our own food and that doesn't mean we all have to each grow our own food. We trade and stuff. So finding farmers that need help. If you're in the cities, you could look up the Weston A. Price Foundation. I know in England and in Ireland they have chapter leaders that can help you to get in contact with people, small farmers, like young people who are going back to the land and growing food or raising chickens or raising eggs that are, soy free and organic and really free range. Because if you buy free range chicken eggs in the store, that means they get to go out for like an hour onto a lot of places it's onto a cement compound outside. They get to see the sunshine for 1 or 2 hours. That's what some of the free range chicken eggs is that you're getting, that you're paying extra for. So you got to be super careful. And the best thing I feel is to know your farmer. Like go out to the outskirts and find, figure out maybe there's some watering you can help with, or, help move the cows around, or I don't know, if you don't have money and you can't afford to, well, I'm not going to say that because I don't believe it, but in not affording organic food. But, if you feel like you need help in that way, then you could go and just ask to do trades with farmers for food. There's that WOOF program, WOOF, for younger people, where you can go and help out and get fed and stuff. It's a good thing to send kids to, teenagers and stuff. They're looking for something for them to do instead of going into the military. Line them up around to ship them around to different organic farms where they can work and learn about growing food and preparing food. And they get fed in the WOOF program. It's WOOF. You can look at it. It's online. So you can travel around and stay, 2 weeks here, 3 weeks there, a month, 2 months, 6 months. And the people invite you in. They give you housing and food to work on their farm. Just seems like it's a great way to get kids out of the house. When they're teenagers, they really need instruction. They need stuff to do. So that's part of the problem of what's going on these days with these kids is they're just out and like sitting around on their cell phones all the time. They need to be busy doing stuff, especially boys. I was a single mom of a boy, and boy, I just tried to keep him as busy as I could. So, so here we go. We're going to start talking too about, so I'm going to talk about the ferments. That one show that I did on the ferments where we walked through my favorite ferment with the cabbage and the beets, that recording got lost. So, anyway, that's kind of odd. That's an interesting coincidence because the footage got lost and the ferments actually went off. They didn't turn out how I wanted them to. And it's my very favorite ferment. And I used a whole bunch of my beets too for it. The beets are still crunchy, but the cabbage got really soggy. And so this is just something that happens when you're fermenting food. Because that's like one of the main things I feel like, what that show was about. I remember saying that if there was one thing that you could ever take away from any of my shows is to start eating fermented foods. It's like every day a little bit, even if it's kombucha, get yourself a bottle of kombucha in 1 week and just take a sip every day. If you're not used to eating fermented foods, it's so important for your gut. The health of your gut. We have been eating denatured foods for like at least here in the United States, probably 3 or 4 generations, or probably at least 3. In Europe, I think it's a little less. I've been talking to people over there in Ireland and somebody in England, and they said, it's like 1 to 2 generations away from eating more traditional foods. Which includes in most cultures, actually I probably could say all cultures, some sort of fermented foods. Those fermented foods, of course, have the live probiotic bacteria and enzymes that help us break down food and make strong bodies and strong minds and strong emotions, or healthy emotions, and also healthy fats, right? Which is not vegetable oil, as you guys all know. So what I'm going to do with that ferment, so I have like 4 big bottles, I guess that's 2 gallons of fermented cabbage and beets, with the cabbage is all soggy. So what I did with 1 jar is I just strained it out and into another jar, so it's just the juice. And I'm going to take a picture later and put it on the study, and I'll remind you in the chat room sometime. But it is so beautiful. The color of it is like this fluorescent magenta, and it's just really, really beautiful, and it tastes really good. Okay, it's kind of salty, a little bit sweet because of the beets. And like yesterday, this time of year in the Chinese calendar, it's not good to eat too heavy stuff. And yesterday I had some chicken. And I didn't have much else, but I think I had some salad with it. But I ate a little bit too much of the chicken. I should have just ate more of the vegetables. And my stomach started to feel too heavy. So I went to the fridge and I took about a half a cup of that. They sell it in the stores called Gut Shot for $7 an ounce. So it's really expensive. I mean, it'd be a good cottage industry for somebody to make. Because if they're making $7 an ounce, I could have $400 or $500 in my refrigerator right now, just sitting there. So anyway, I drank about a half a cup of the juice that I got from my ferment. That it didn't go off, but the cabbage got too soggy, so I don't like to eat it like that. I like the cabbage crispy. And I mean, immediately my stomach just felt better. It was so good. I'm so glad to have that. And so even if you're making, your cabbage, sauerkraut, I really encourage you to try it with the beets, because it gives it a whole nother flavor, and it's just delicious. And then you have the water there. So the way that ferment that I taught you, and it's in the study, if you guys go to the right of the chat room, there's a thing called the study, if you open that up, that's going to have the recipe to Yolene Slee's favorite ferment. I have to update it. Ferment's gone wrong or something. But so what I think happened was that I thought I was using clabbered milk, the whey from clabbered milk, which the recipe for that is in the study also. And you people from England and Scotland and all, you might remember this about clabbering milk, because your ancestors, I'm sure maybe your grandma or your mom even did it, where you leave raw milk out. You can't do it with pasteurized milk because it'll just be disgusting. Don't ever try this with pasteurized milk. But the raw milk, you just leave it out on the counter. It starts to separate. It turns like almost into yogurt by itself. And then it'll separate, and you just put it through some cheesecloth or kitchen cloth. And that water that comes out of it is whey, W-H-E-Y. And that's what you use to ferment, the vegetables, to use for vegetables. I never put whey in with pickles because I've done that before, and it did the same thing. It made the pickles get too soggy too fast. I didn't like it at all. So I only use the salt when I make pickles, but we're not there yet because the pickles aren't on yet, or the cucumbers. Somebody's asking, Vanessa, there's a question, what does clabbered milk taste like? It depends. If you get it real quick and don't let it sit around a lot, it's kind of like, almost like yogurt or cottage cheese or something, but the texture is more like yogurt, like a clumpy yogurt. Yeah, so it's a little plain. I would use it, some people mix it with fruit and honey, and you can make a spread with it. You could make it, for like a frosting for a cake, you could use that, or just on a piece of toast, or you could put berries into it. So if you separate the clabbered milk, you're gonna get something kind of like cream cheese. Okay. And it's really delicious. You could add salt to it and some dill and make and a little bit of lemon or something to make like a dip for celery and carrots and stuff, like a veggie dip. Or, so you could you could put some salsa in it too to make it and use it with tortilla chips, or, you can bake with it. You can use it for, yogurt and stuff, and kefir. You can use it to do a facial with it. There's so many things. You can rub it all over your body if you have skin issues. It helps your body to get that natural probiotics and the beneficial bacteria on your skin. So you can do it topically. That's kind of fun if you have a lot left over. But yeah, so I like to put dill in it and salt, a little bit of salt. You could put some, like a little bit of tamari or something, fermented soy sauce. Yeah, so it's pretty good. If you let it sit around, it gets stronger. It'll get more strong. It never goes super bad. It won't be like disgusting, like as if you left pasteurized milk to sit around like that. Oh, you do not want that in your house. It'll smell, because the pasteurization process kills all the natural the probiotics, the beneficial bacteria and enzymes that keep the milk healthy. Those beneficial bacteria will kill off the pathogenic bacteria that would get into milk. So, there's been very, very few cases of people getting sick from raw milk. That whole hype is a complete lie. The people who have died from milk products are from pasteurized milk products. And maybe I can look for the studies and the case studies on that, and the scientific papers on that. And maybe I'll put that into the study too, because it's pretty interesting to read that. I don't tend to retain that kind of information, like the facts or the numbers and stuff, but I just know that that's the truth about it. So what I think happened with my ferment was that I accidentally used some whey in the ferment. Remember, because in that recipe you put a little bit of whey in it. I think I accidentally used the kefir whey, and that breaks stuff down way faster than the clabbered milk whey. So, and because I did that once with my my cucumbers with pickles, and it made it just really soggy. It was just gross. I had to throw them all away. Or I gave them to somebody's pigs, actually. So that's the importance of marking things in your refrigerator. Maybe if we had a camera, we could walk to my refrigerator now. I could give you a little tour of what's going on in there. That would be fun. But most of the stuff is marked. I have this stuff you buy. It's called kitchen masking tape, kitchen tape, or refrigerator tape, freezer tape. And it's worth the $6 buying a thing. That stuff, it lasted me probably 10 years, the whole roll. I wasn't going to buy it because it was $6 and regular tape is $2. But I'm so glad I did because it doesn't come off in the freezer or the refrigerator. So it's worth buying that if you're going to start cooking your own, making your own fermented foods. You just put a little piece on the jar and write the date and what it is. So I think what happened was I had a jar of the kefir whey in there, and I had a bunch of jars of the clabbered milk whey, and none of them were marked. And so because I figured, you always do that. You figure you can remember, and I don't. So that's probably what happened. And I used the whey from the kefir rather than the clabbered milk to put into my ferment. And it just broke down the cabbage too fast. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sift it all out, or sieve it all out, and get the juice, which is really delicious. So don't just throw this kind of stuff away. If it's syrupy or slimy at all, or you have any doubt in your mind, like you taste it and it's kind of like, it's a little bit, just throw it away. But this one is not syrupy at all. It's like pouring out like water. It's a little thicker than water, but it's not syrupy. If it's syrupy, that means it went bad. Throw it out. But what I'm going to do is pick through it by hand and pick all the beets out, because I love the beets. It's really good. And I'll just give the cabbage, see if the chickens will eat it or something. So, find neighbors with chickens. You can give them your extra food. It's really good for them to have those probiotic foods too, because it keeps them healthy. Like my chickens never got mites or anything. A lot of chickens, people with backyard chickens get mites on them. There's like these little white spots, and they end up. I know people who like spray it with like malathion or some horrible spray on their chickens that are laying eggs for them, and I don't think they really thought it through. But my chickens have never got that, and I'm not really the cleanest chicken person. We do keep it pretty clean, but not, like these other people are changing their straw like every week. And I don't do that, but we just don't have a problem. And I think part of it is because they're getting our leftovers, the fermented foods and stuff. So just keeping them healthy. So yeah, that's what I'm doing with my ferment. Were there any other ferment questions? Pasteurized milk goes bad, not cultured. Yeah. Yeah, don't ever try this. If you're making even yogurt with pasteurized milk, it does set up better than raw milk. Like it gets that gel better, the pasteurized milk. And when you make yogurt from raw milk, it won't get exactly like that. It'll be a little bit more runny. So, make smoothies out of it. And when you're making smoothies out of fermented milk products, you want to let it cool it down first before you put the fruit in there to make a smoothie. I think I told you guys this before, because if you don't do that, it ferments the fruit really fast, and the whole thing just gets like a little bit of it's too fermented for me. Maybe Angemus would like it. He likes to make his own ferments with his fruit and stuff. But it's just too strong for me. And I bet kids, it'd be a little bit too strong for them too. So cool it down when you make your kefir or your yogurt. Put it in the fridge when it's done. Cool it down and make the smoothie the next day. Oh, good. So you got someone saying they got great. Are you doing it with raw milk? Somebody got kefir grains and kombucha online. Okay, well, that was your homework. You got some extra credit there, you JJ, because that was your homework. People got to pick one project and go for it. So, so you already got started on your homework there, I see. But there's sometimes if you get, I bought some kefir grains online once, and there's a whole protocol on how to get it going if you're going to do it with raw milk. Because if they usually make kefir grains to sell with pasteurized milk, I think legally they probably have to do that with those stupid laws of theirs that don't make any sense. But anyhow, so what happened with me when I bought kefir grains online, they send it to you. You have to get it started with pasteurized milk. Because if you get it started with raw milk right away, the bacteria in the raw milk is too strong for the kefir grain that was grown in pasteurized milk. The kefir grain is going to be a little weaker because it was grown, unless it was grown in raw milk. But usually, if you buy them online, they're grown in pasteurized milk. So you have to get it started with pasteurized milk. And then every day you change the milk out and you add a little bit of raw milk. So say the first day you put it in a cup of milk. That's these little kefir grains. They look like little spongy pieces of cauliflower. And so you put it into the milk, and then the next day you put a half a cup of pasteurized milk and a half a cup of raw milk. And then you just kind of keep putting a little bit more. That might not be the ratio. They'll tell you on the instructions. It's really important to do that because you'll kill your kefir grain if you try to do it in raw milk right away. So UJJ is, I hope I'm saying that right, can't find unpasteurized milk. So if I don't know where you're at, if you're in England or in Ireland, if you're in Ireland, you can find raw milk anywhere in Ireland. It's amazing. They have a group called Raw Milk Ireland online, and I bet you might even be able to get someone that could ship it to you, the raw milk. Of course, you know it's going to be a little more expensive, but a lot of the farms. And so if you contacted rawmilkireland.com. Right? You just in Jersey. Oh, Jersey, England, right? Not United States. Okay. So if you go to rawmilkireland.com and contact them, I bet they'll have some information about Scotland and England too, where to find some. They're really amazing. They tried to make raw milk illegal in Ireland I think it was about 6 years ago, and they had a really strong movement, and a lot of people got on board to work together to keep raw milk legal and available in Ireland. So, I don't know how far it is for you too. I mean, who knows? Maybe some farmer would bring it on the boat across the channel there, and so we can meet them and do deliveries. I mean, people have gotten really creative here with how to get the distribution going. So, and sometimes you can find farmers that have raw milk, and maybe just for their family or their friends, they kind of keep it hush-hush because it can be illegal in places. But yeah, so Vanessa's saying you could say that it's for your pet, and that's the first step. You just go and say, hey, my dog loves raw milk. I want it. Can I buy some? And then, kind of go from there. And I think somebody, was it Rob, found a place where you could get it shipped on ice, like frozen from somewhere in England. So that's another option. So, it's just going to make all the difference in the world, because basically if you're buying kefir in the store, you're just throwing your money away. You might as well just, buy something cheaper because it's dead. There's nothing in it. They might have added something like some enzymes or added some kind of probiotics and stuff, but it's not the real deal. Okay, it has to be made with raw milk, and you're gonna feel the difference. It feels so good. So basically, yeah, having 1 or 2 or 3 different fermented foods a day. Like it could be some kombucha, could be a little bit of sauerkraut, could be a yogurt smoothie, or a kefir smoothie. Yeah. So it says on the web, the farmer's market does unpasteurized milk oh, cool. Yeah, that's probably what it is. It's raw milk. Maybe they don't want to use the word raw because it might be like a trigger word or something. So cool. Go check them out, and I know this one place where I get raw milk here, if you go down and milk for them, she gives you half of the milk that you get that day. Plus, there's all these other perks. So a lot of times these farmers, they need help, so if you have kids, if you're homeschooling, or, you're retired, you need something to do or whatever, check it out. If you want to start doing something different, go see what's going on these farms. Because, for me, I feel like, we can sit here and bitch and moan and complain and pray, all we want about what's going on in the world. But really the bottom line is, food. We have got to get our infrastructure together, and it's actually fun. What else are you going to do? Sit around, watch TV? Might as well go out and, get involved with food production. I was kind of bummed my son didn't go into that, but oh well. They don't always do what you want them to, huh? Yeah, so let's see. I'm going to go on to my notes here and see what's going on. Yeah. So, I was thinking about changing the name of my show because as I've been rereading a lot of old spiritual books that are written by Native Americans. And I just realized, knowing what I know now about, what happened in ancient history and what I believe might have happened with the whole Anunnaki invasion and stuff. That stuff happened everywhere. And so my feeling like going back to these old writings and seeing that, well, wait a second, there's elements of this control over, you see it in Mexico in the sacrifices at the pyramids, this blood thing that happened, that's an evil or death oriented, all over the world. So, I like the idea of traditions and things that our ancestors did, but what I'm starting to see is that, there's these remnants of weirdness in all these different traditions. So what I decided to do to change the name of my show to is Nourishing Peace. So I don't know what you guys think about that. But I just thought because the nourishing is kind of going to touch in on the food thing. And because it's my feeling that when we start to make ourselves healthy and our guts healthy, our intuition and, just our common sense is going to get better. And that's how we're going to step into being these amazing creator beings in a really strong way. Because they have us eating this denatured food. Everybody's trying to be vegetarian, vegan, and if you're super sick and super toxic, yeah, you need to do that because you need to detox. But then people are not eating nourishing foods, so they're getting away from eating animal foods, which is the nourishing part of our food base. So in all old cultures, they have the detoxifying foods, which is the plant-based, and the meat-based foods or animal, which is like fats and dairy and eggs and shellfish and, that kind of stuff. So that's what I was thinking. I wrote to God. Oh, Vanessa likes that. Thanks. Nourishing Peace. Anyway, that's my idea for that. So let's take a teeny tiny little break, Red, if we could, just like a minute. Okay. I'm going to go get some more water.
Metaphysics, beauty,
and Nourishing Peace program. I think I just changed the name from Traditions of Peace. So I'm just looking through the chat here and was looking at some stuff. Oh, people were talking about drank some kombucha yesterday. It was pretty acidic. One thing you can do with kombucha is really, you need to go super slow. So if you're just starting, you can buy one bottle and just have it last for a week. Drink a sip a day or 1 or 2 sips. And you can also mix it with some mineral water. That's pretty good. Just mix it half and half if you want. Put a little bit of, if you have some fruit around, you can grind that up, put it in there. Just kind of dilute it down, because you might get a die-off from it if you start to do it too fast, the kombucha, because it is detoxifying and it kills pathogenic bacteria in your gut. Not outright killing them, but it brings in the beneficial ones and it sort of just nudges them out. So you'll start to repopulate your gut with beneficial bacteria. And so that in itself will just cause a little bit of a die-off. And if you drink too much of it at once, you could feel sick. And I did that when I first started drinking it. I think one day I drank like 2 bottles over the whole day, and I felt like I got the flu. I mean, I didn't, get any of the main symptoms, but I was really nauseous and stuff. So and I couldn't drink it for about a week after. Just take it easy, go real slow with any kind of ferments. If you're not used to it, you want to just go slow. Because you don't want to cause that die-off. You will cause it, but just if you go slow, it won't be so, just uncomfortable. So diluting it down is good. So they're looking for dairies in London and in England. That's cool. Yeah, so getting to know your farmer too, because, I don't want to do any stepping on toes here, but, a lot of people say you need to go to the farm and make sure that they're doing what they say they're doing, that there's no Roundup bottles in the garbage. Not that you're going to root through their garbage, but, there have been cases of people saying they're doing stuff when they weren't really doing it. So that's why the group, the Weston A. Price Foundation, I'm going to write this S-T-O-N-A Price. I think it's .com, WestonAPrice.com maybe, but that's the name of the foundation, Weston A. Price Foundation. They're an organization that they do education and research on traditional foods like raw milk and pastured eggs and different kinds of meats that are, traditionally prepared, traditionally grown, pastured. And they have chapter leaders. If you go to that website and look for, I think it says get involved or something, and then find a chapter leader. You can find someone near you, and they're really good about getting back to you. If you email them or call them, they'll usually get back to you pretty quickly, and they can help you find local farmers that are starting to do this stuff. And a lot of the farmers have classes. There's people that are doing classes. You could take a 1 or a 2 day class on, making fermented foods or making bone broth, or there it is. Thank you, Vanessa.org. Vanessa put the website onto the chat room. So it's www.westonaprice.org for those of you listening in from afar. So check them now. They're super helpful if you want to start transitioning over, because we have got to pull the plug on that other system of food, because it has been being used as a weapon too, to make us weak, to make our, bodies weak, our minds weak, our emotions weak. There's been studies that all of the people who were like the murderers, the mass murderers, the gun shooting people, that they all they went into their bedrooms and they were just filled with junk food wrappers and Coke bottles and, sodas and stuff. So, it is proven that people get really aggressive when they're starved, because basically people's bodies are being starved. There's no real nutrition in the food that we're eating, So, yeah, I just feel like, I was a political activist when I was younger, an anarchist, and I did a lot of stuff. I was always kind of on the edge of things, and, this is where I've arrived, is food. And I think this is the real revolution, is to change the way we're eating back to the way our grandparents ate, and change the way we're feeling about our lives and about ourselves. It really, when you start to do that, your body starts to appreciate nature more. I think for me, there's been less of a need for even like ceremonies and stuff. Like, I feel like I just can walk into nature and feel my connection with nature. And I know people who garden a lot, they do that too. They talk about how they, have a connection with the bees and the different animals in their gardens. So, but there is definitely a place for prayer and for visualization. I was talking about my neighbor before about that he was spraying. Now I don't know if I should eat the berries on my bushes. The black currants are all coming on, and I went out this morning and got like almost a whole gallon of them, and I just washed them with some water and like 2 drops of really mild soap, dish soap in there, and just kind of swished them around a bunch, because I'm thinking maybe that'll help to take off any traces of whatever toxins were blowing onto my yard from my neighbor. So I kind of washed them like that a few times and rinsed them a whole bunch, and then did final rinses with the filtered water. And I guess I'm going to eat them. I figure what the heck, people are eating worse these days, and I should be okay. But what I do with them is I freeze them. I put them like in a long glass pan and stick them in the freezer. And then once they're frozen, I kind of break them apart and put them into a jar in the freezer. And then I have like black currants almost all year. Every time I make a smoothie, I just reach in and get a bunch of frozen black currants for my smoothies. So black currants are a really great bush to put in your yard. If you only have a tiny little yard and you're thinking of something to put in, or even you could put it into pots onto decks and stuff. If you get some sun, they like sun. So maybe find a microclimate that's kind of warm. Black currants they're really, really good for your eyes, and they're good antioxidants. So even if I was getting some of that poison that might have gotten onto them, maybe the antioxidants in the actual berries will be enough to make me not, feel the effects of any chemicals that might be on there. I hope not. I hope I got them all off. I'm going to visualize they all got off and they're totally clean. So one thing I wanted to talk about the visualizations, I know sometimes in the chat room we're joking around about hippies and this and that. And, people like to call me and Lizzie and Joan the hippie moms and stuff. We could change our name to the Conspiracy Hippie Mom Group instead of the Imagine that we have on Wednesdays. So anyhow, I wanted to tell a story that was very interesting about visualization. So in the chakra system, there's the rose light is usually looked at as the heart, right? And there was this Native American elder named Tom Sevenhawks. I don't know if he's still alive. He was from the East Coast. And he Angel's smiling. Yeah, so he worked for the who did he work for? Like the police in Miami, I think. He was like he was this big, huge guy. He was huge. And he worked for the police department in Miami. Pretty heavy duty. And one time, there's the mafias down there and everything. And he told this story once about rose light. and because he used rose light to keep him safe in different situations. And so here's the story. It's really amazing. So one time there was this big deal going down with the mafia there in Miami, and he was the one that they picked to go arrest this kind of kingpin guy from the mafia out of this bar. And so, he was really scared because even though he's a big guy, he can't really dodge bullets that well. So before he went into this bar, he knew the guy was there. The guy probably knew he was coming for him. But he sat in his car and he thought about rose light and love. And he just filled with his mind. He sent rose light to this guy and just surrounded him with rose colored light, like pink light, right? So that's the light in the chakra system. It's the light of the color of the heart. And it's about love and compassion and safety. Rose quartz, yep. Oh, cool, UJJ, that's great. Yeah, so rose quartz is really good for your heart, too, your physical heart. But it's also good for bringing love and softness into your life. And so here's this guy, Tom Sevenhawks. He's this big, huge Indian, right? Short hair. He's a cop. And so he's out in his car praying, and he's thinking, okay, I'm sending this guy rose light. The whole room is filled with rose light. Everybody's going to be safe, but he had to go in there and arrest the guy, put handcuffs on him and take him out of there. And he was like this big kingpin of the mafia down there. So he goes in, and the guy knows who he is and stuff. And so he walks in there, and everybody kind of gets really quiet. And the mafia guy, just walked right up to him and held his hands out so he could put the handcuffs on him. And so I love that story because that whole situation got totally diffused, and it turned out that it was very safe and very healing situation, and nobody got hurt. So I really believe in the power of our thoughts and what we project. If we can get really, conscious. We slow down enough to make choices about our words and our intentions. So even dangerous situations, like this. So my next door neighbor, I went and talked to him twice. He yelled at me both times. I don't like getting yelled at. I yelled at a lot when I was little, and I just don't like it. We use a combination of, police force or something, I don't know, and visualizing and keeping things peaceful. Because as we go through this big, huge transformation, we are in that transformation of the Mayan calendar was talking about. It's like, 26,000 year cycle. 7 or 8 or 10 or 25 years doesn't make a difference. We're still in the middle of that transformation time, the transition time. So all these things can help, like working with crystals and rocks, the rose quartz, that's cool. 100 grams, that must be pretty big. Somebody got 100-gram piece of rose quartz. So when I was having heart issues, I had a piece of rose quartz. I would hold it in my hand during the day. I just walk around with it, at work. And I think it really did help. And it helps with any kind of heart issue, like emotional or physical heart stuff. And so all this stuff kind of works together. So it's the food. I feel like kind of like I'm jumping around, but really I'm not, because it's like this tapestry of life. It includes our thoughts. It includes our prayers. It includes our food and our drink and our neighbors and the chemtrails. It's like, once we, killed our TV, or, I still watch movies and stuff like that at nighttime. We have a VCR and a DVD player and stuff like that. So it's not like I never watch TV. I just don't watch the kind with lots of, the commercials and everything in there. I hate that. So that's a first step too, about disconnecting from being bombarded with advertising. But so the color of the rose quartz, of course, is rose colored. You could put that on your heart. And if you are having any kind of like emotional problems, you could put that on your heart. It really helps to diffuse them. You could put them, also they're supposed to help with electromagnetic pollution. So a lot of people recommend putting a piece of rose quartz next to your computer. If you work next to a computer, you can put it there with your shungite. Yeah, it's a really good one. When I had, I just took a crystal class with my Cherokee teacher. We just had the last one. Oh, I can tell you guys a story about that. That was good. So she gave us this thing to do if you have, what happened? Something happened where, I think it was the next door neighbor guy when he yelled at me and I was feeling really shaken up. And, she told us if you get a piece of black tourmaline and a piece of, clear quartz crystal. So any kind of black crystal, any kind of black stones are actually very protective. If we have a lot of obsidian here, and that's supposed to be super protective. So we have a piece at our driveway. I have a piece near the front door of my office. So they're supposed to be very protective. And you know what? Even if it doesn't work, I don't care. I mean, if it's in my mind, fine. That's okay too. But to me, it seems like it works. I like feeling protected. I think it's our birthright to protect ourselves and our families. And so we can do that any way we want. I've never shot a gun and I hope I never have to. So I'd rather put a black stone, at my doorway than have to shoot a gun. It'll just prevent stuff from happening. I gotta plug my computer in here because it's getting out of batteries. Hold on. So anyhow, one of the things she was talking about in this crystal class, Dahani, she's a Cherokee, and in the Native American tribal system, some of them, they have each family or clan has a different packet of a bundle of teachings. And so some of the clans could have they could be in charge of keeping all of the knowledge about farming. Or another one would have about astrology or astronomy, the stars and navigating. Another clan is for the crystals, knowledge about crystals. And Dahani, my teacher, her clan has all the information about crystals. So she's a really good person to study with for that. I got a cloud poster too, you JJ. But anyhow, so she was talking about lethargy, like about feeling, and I know sometimes we talk about this in the chat, right? People get kind of depressed and feeling down and like there's nothing we can do and they're going to screw us over. We're never going to get out of this. So I was thinking about that too. And so she gave this teaching about using a piece of black tourmaline, which is, it's protective, but it also pulls stuff out. So she said it's particular for lethargy. So when you're feeling just apathetic, like you can't do anything, we're stuck, that kind of thing. So she said, you just get into a meditative situation. Like I went out in my backyard on a chair in the shade and I got just real quiet and relaxed for a while. And I took that piece of black tourmaline. She said, put it on your belly button, on your navel. And then you just think about whatever trauma or situation that happened that made you feel lethargic. Like you can't do anything. You're just stuck. Because that's how I was feeling one day. I was like, why do I even bother teaching, or why do I bother eating well? I could just go to the store, get some potato chips and be done with it. That's what I really want. No, but then I'd get really sick if I do that. But anyhow, so I was feeling in kind of like a funk that day. And so it was really great. I got this teaching. So I tried it out immediately. And I have this piece of quartz crystal. And so she said, put the piece of black tourmaline on your navel and you just relax with it there. And just think about whatever that trauma was that got you into this state of feeling lethargic, stuck. And So you just leave it there for a little while. So I just kind of sat there and leaned back in this chair. I was listening to the birds and stuff and watching my corn grow. Corn's really tall right now. It's like over my head. And so then when you're done, and you just know, okay, I'm done. Then you take the tourmaline off and you put the quartz crystal on your belly. And that helps to, quartz crystals, they make the computers out of them, right? So they're generators. They take information that you want to work with and they amplify it and they generate more of what it is that you want to work with. So these teachings are kind of esoteric, and Angel, don't get mad at me, but they're real. They're scientific. I mean, this is what the whole computer world is based on, this information, right? I have healed computers. My computer at work didn't work for about 4 weeks, and I tried everything. And then I was going to bring it to the computer place. They wanted $250 just to look at it, and that wasn't even going to go towards anything towards fixing it. So I had learned from a native, this African-American woman a long, long, long time ago. It was like 30 years ago, that you can, she would heal her husband's computers with her crystal. If something would go wrong, she'd go in there with this crystal and just, kind of talk to it and work with it, make some intentions, and it would fix his computer. So I remembered that story when my computer went down, and I'm like, I cannot afford a new computer, and I don't want to. $250 is a lot of money for if they can't find anything, then I just pay the $250 for nothing. So I decided to try that, and so I had a quartz crystal, and I brought it in there, and I asked it, okay, do you want to work with me with this computer? Can you help me out with this? And I kind of got an impulse that it would be okay. So I put it on my computer. I have a little Apple Mini. It's just like a little box, and then it connects to the monitor and stuff. So I kind of tapped it a little bit, and not real hard or anything. And I just kind of wanted to make some, vibrations, so that if it's like an electromagnetic pulse or something that happens, that it would kind of tap it and help it move along. So I did that, and I kind of left it there. I walked away and stuff, and then I went back a little while later, and I shut everything down, because I kept trying to shut it down and bring it back up, shut it down to see what would work. And and I brought it back up, and the computer worked. So this isn't witchcraft, if somebody's saying that, unless science is witchcraft, which a lot of it probably is. But this is like the scientific, or this is real science. This isn't the fake science that's based on satanic inclinations or something. This is like, helping me out so I could do these shows for you guys. But I just want to tell you that, because it's like there's so many things that are possible, and so when I did that with the black tourmaline and the crystal that day when I was feeling really down, I did feel like it lifted my spirits, like something. I just popped right up, came in the house, and started doing the dishes or something. It was like somehow the energetic field of my body and my mind just shifted really fast. And that's about, not being afraid to take things into our own hands. These are crystal friends, and the Native American people believe that everything is alive. The stones are alive, and the trees are alive, and of course the birds, and the whole earth is alive. The clouds are alive. We're all part of this living being that's called life. And so, working with stones like that, I know I've heard stories, I used to listen to Simon Parks a lot, and he would talk about how they're doing stuff with the music, like they would take albums that were just made, or cassettes or DVDs, and do satanic rituals on them and send them out, ship them out to stores and sell them with this, those bad intentions put onto them. So, what's the problem with us working with the elements and working with different beings, different forms of life that inhabit this earth for the good? Why not? Why do I have to go to a freaking shrink so they can take my money and put me on drugs and tell me what's wrong with me? Or I just take a crystal and go outside to my backyard and go, okay, you want to help me? And it helped me. So is it in my head? I don't care. It helped. So this is the kind of stuff I like to share with you guys because it's just what interests me. And the fact of the matter is it totally works. So, if we're healing our bodies, we're getting healthy in our guts, our brains are working better, our nerves are working better, we know we're here to do good. We totally trust ourselves, right? I trust myself. I think some of you guys probably trust me. I know my patients trust me and stuff. And believe me, I don't talk about this stuff with everybody, right? But I can talk about it with you because you're listening. So, I think that and I remember hearing Simon Parks talk about stuff like this, and he was saying, be really careful. Don't use the tarot, and don't do. There's a bunch of things that sort of could be construed as like evil or something, and probably I'm sure, and that groups have taken this stuff and done evil things with it. I mean, we know that, but that doesn't mean that we're evil and that we can't take care of ourselves in a strong way. I was raised Catholic with a lot of guilt, and I'm still kind of shaking it off. Like, is this witchcraft? I mean, I don't really care what people say because I trust myself, and I know you guys trust yourselves too. And I don't do this kind of stuff all the time, but if my computer's broken down and I have a crystal, you better believe I'm going to fix it if I can. Because why go out and pay another $800 for a new computer? Yeah. Red doesn't trust himself with cookies. Yeah, I don't trust myself with potato chips. That's my thing. Yeah. So, any other questions? Or is there any comments about that stuff? I don't know if people are saying weird stuff. Crystals do the data. Yeah. Yeah, the computers are all all made with silicon. Yep. So it's possible to work with crystals to fix your computers. I would encourage you guys if something goes down on it. But the thing about the crystals is that the Cherokees, they believe that they're alive, that they're little beings, and so you want to check in with them. Like what I talked to you guys about once about harvesting herbs and stuff. And in the Native American way, they would go out or they still do. Go out and give an offering first, like some cornmeal or tobacco or a song, and ask for permission to be able to take some herbs. And so for me, I like that because it's a give and receive kind of thing. So it's kind of helps us to establish that connection of giving and receiving with the universe, with our earth. Because we got that severed as we got put into our ancestors or our, grandparents and stuff got put into factory jobs, into slavery jobs where the masters were in control of their time, divvied out money little by little, just as much as they needed just to barely squeak by. And they took away this feeling of abundance, the abundant universe and the earth that provides so abundantly for us. And so by these kind of things that I like to talk to you about, it's like about reestablishing that relationship of give and take and honoring and respecting the earth and what she gives us, and the relationship with the sky and the water and the elements, that the elements can come back into balance again. And so we do this with food, with prayer, with water, with, all kinds of the crystals, with our friends. And I know, there's a few drinks that I wanted to talk about. And I put it into the study. I think Gaz probably has not put them in there yet, but I wanted to put this in because it is very hot in a lot of places right now. So there's some teas that you can drink that I haven't talked about before. That are really, really good for cooling you down in the summertime. They're good for your heart, too. They're red colored. So one of them is hibiscus tea. And if you go into Mexican taquerias and you see a red drink, that's agua de Jamaica. And Jamaica means hibiscus in Spanish. So you got Jamaica. Probably they got a lot of hibiscus flowers there. So that you can make sun tea. You could buy dried hibiscus flowers, and you want to rinse them off a little bit because they're kind of dusty a lot. So you just rinse them really quickly, and then you throw like about a half a cup of the hibiscus flowers into a gallon of water. Like you want to have good water, either spring water or filtered water, and stick it out in the sun somewhere for the day. And let it cool overnight. So you can leave it for 24 hours outside if somebody doesn't steal it from you. And then in the morning, you want to, take the flowers out, filter it out, or what are we talking about? Strain it out. And you could sweeten it with some honey. You could, it'll probably be kind of cold, so you might want to put the honey in a little bit of warm water. Mix it up a bit and then add that to the tea to get it to mix in good. Or you could put some, in Mexico, they have this really very minimally processed sugar. It's called piloncillo. I'll write it into the chat. Piloncillo. So those of you that can find Mexican stores, you might be able to find that. It's really raw sugar, and it's brown colored. And they're usually in these little cones. They're like in cones. And you could break it off and you could use that. That's what they traditionally use for they call it agua de Jamaica. Aguadegamaica. That's the hibiscus tea. It's really delicious and it's very cooling. They make popsicles out of it in Mexico. So if you have somebody, or there's Mexican people in your neighborhood that sell those popsicles, and you see those ones, the popsicles made out of Jamaica are really, really good. You should try them. And they're cooling. They actually cool the heat down in your body. Because this time of year, there's a lot of heat that could get trapped in your body if you live in a hot place. I know you guys in Scotland don't have that problem, but if you go to Spain, get the agua de Jamaica. So and I put the recipe for that in the study. Pinocchio. Piloncillo. Oh, you know what they call it here in the United States? I think it's, what is that stuff called? Oh, shoot. What is that called? Darn it. There's a kind of sugar that they have now you can find. It's real dark. I'll have to look for it. Anyway, so you're going to have that in the study when Gaz gets back. The other thing you could do is cucumber water and eating cucumbers. Very cooling. We talked about putting those on your eyes and stuff, or on your skin. Last time I think I was out in the sun and I had gotten a little bit of sunburn, and I just bought a cucumber and sliced it and stuck it all over my face. I never got burnt. It felt really good. It's so good. But don't eat those cucumbers. Just throw them away. And then watermelon is very, very cooling. We talked about that before. You can make tea out of watermelon too. If you just get the red part and put it in a blender with some water and sweeten it with either honey or that piloncillo, or I'm going to get this package. What that's called. Oh yeah, it's called. I think in English here they sell it as sucanat. Sucanat. That's the piloncillo. Sucanat. Sucanat. So it's whole cane sugar, but it's really very minimally processed. Most sugar, it's exposed to tons of heat and pressure, like the white sugar. That's why it's so bad for you. Because sugar in itself, I mean, it's probably not the best for you, but it's not bad. It's just the pressure and the heat that they expose it to, and probably, different chemicals and stuff too, make it really bad. And then I think we talked about praying with food. I think I saw you guys chatting about that earlier. Maybe they were talking about it on the World Healer Show. So if you guys ever read the book of the Hopi, they have I don't know if it's a legend, I mean, apparently it's supposed to be true, that there's this guy who, a Hopi weaver, he's weaving reality. He's like a real person in a cave somewhere. So you talk about prayers and weaving reality. So I always, I like to give you guys a little bit of homework this time. And I think JJ's already gotten started on his, so he's okay. And I know Vanessa likes to make her ferments. But just, this week, try to think of one thing that you could do that would help you kind of step onto this path of taking care of your gut. So it might be buying a bottle of kombucha and just take one sip a day. Okay? Keep it in the fridge or in a cold place. It might be trying to find some raw milk. Go buy a quart of raw milk and make some yogurt, or see how you do with it. Some raw cheese. Apparently that raw milk Ireland, they have really good cheeses available that are all raw milk cheese. It's amazing. So where is that? I'm trying to find my homework part. Sauerkraut, raw milk, kombucha. Yeah, so anything you can do, if you could just do one thing this week about to help you kind of step onto the track of eating for your gut, doing something really good for your gut. So, each of our actions is really important. Every single thing that we do. They have us these big lies about TV and like have us all looking at this person and that person and Trump and Clinton and blah, blah, blah. They suck. I don't want to hear anything else about them. I love you guys. And you're the ones that I care about. So who cares what they do? Let's just focus on each other and on ourselves, Like Charles has been helping me out like with this, he knows a lot about the turpentine. And so that's really fascinating. And I know that someone did a show about it, or part of a show the other day. That's from pine trees. I go and pick it all the time because it smells so good. It's just the resin that comes out of the pine trees. And, it's so healing. It kills parasites, and it's apparently people with MS have started taking it and the MS goes away. You want to call that witchcraft? I don't know. Not me, but it's just science. It's right here in front of us. Our creator, loving grandparents and all the relations that we have out there. It's all about love. And it's all about taking care of ourselves, And so I really appreciate the opportunity to share some stuff with you guys. Sometimes I feel like, why I keep doing this? I don't want to, but I don't know. I get nervous still when I first start off, but there's a lot. I mean, I could probably just do a whole show on my refrigerator. Just open the refrigerator and talk about everything in there. So, like there's this whole Black Lives Matter and this and that, and apparently George Soros is behind all that, behind the pink, think pink movement and women's marches and stuff. I mean, I'm just not into any of that anymore. I'm just like into, let's make some good food together. And, encouraging you guys to maybe take a gardening class or, get together at a community garden. And just to know that we're all here for a reason. And each and every one of us, our actions are really, really important. Every decision is really important. So like honoring our activities, even like my friend who would tell me the most spiritual person he ever witnessed was every day. He was a street sweeper in Mexico, and he'd just get up before dawn every single day and sweep up one side of the street really calm and slow and just sweeping with total intention and like Zen, feeling about him. And then he'd just come back down the opposite side of the street, sweeping. And he felt like he would get up just to watch this guy. It was like this amazing witnessing of this man who he just had so much dignity and peace about him in this, what we would look at as some peon who was apparently only good enough to sweep the streets. But my friend just told me this story. It was just, and I loved it. I don't know why it just stuck with me all these years, of that he was totally in the moment and honoring exactly what he was doing in front of himself, was sweeping the street. So, even if I was a house cleaner for many years and a house painter, or if you're a street sweeper or a garbage collector or whatever, to honor that we're in this moment right now for a reason, and to emanate love and taking care, doing good things, sticking with the good science, the real stuff. There's all these lies and voodoo that people are doing that's mean and horrible. So just step aside from all that stuff. Yep. Okay, so we're looking at Sukuna in the form of Jaggery. Yeah, I think that's it. That's right, you JJ. I don't really know Jaggery. I've heard of it. Let's see. I'm just looking at the chat room here. Yeah. The stuff I got is dry. It's in a package, but when you get it in a Mexican store, it's hard in a little cone, like a little thing. So, guys, if there's any other questions, we can do that, or maybe we'll just end here. It's about 1:45 the hour. I know. I also wanted to, so when we're working, thank you, Vanessa, grow food, share, yeah, so just, thanks you guys so much for being here. I think I'm going to just end there because, I think I covered all that I wanted to cover, I guess, and I'll just end with, having the spiritual confidence to know that we're going to make it. We really are. We're together, even if it's in cyberspace. We're, what better place you want to be right now? And I feel really so happy that we met each other, that we're here doing this work together, because, they think they got us down, and they're not counting on men and women and the integrity that we have in finding each other. What does that say? The two little magic words that just go, there's George Soros. Well, that's probably true, Angelus. Yeah. To having the spiritual confidence that we're doing this, and it's got to work. It's going to work. I mean, this is what the Mayan prophecies, all those things. I don't know how much I even believe in that stuff, but I know that something big is happening. We all know that. And, it's just nice to have you guys here if you're listening in, just check out all the different shows that are on People for People. It's really amazing minds and just normal people. We're not professional speakers or radio show hosts. I mean, some of them are more professional than me, that's for sure. But, Yeah, so yeah, we're gonna do it, guys. And thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you, Charles, for producing, and we'll see you guys next time. Okay, have a good night.